Real art,
Oh,
not NFT art. Real art.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start
Okay.
recording this, and whoever else is here, I hope they record too. I'm a volunteer, so I just want to make sure I'm the guy that's going to get slapped on the wrist if I don't record this. So,
Good, good.
all right.
So, Mike, nice meeting you. We've got Randall. How are you, Randall?
pretty good. How you doing?
Good, man.
That's
Good.
good.
So, guess
Crypto Blood. It's obvious where you are by. Well, I think it's obvious where you are given your association. You in Detroit?
Detroit. Yes, that's
Cool.
correct.
Randall, where are you located?
Oh, in Houston, Texas.
Houston.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
in
be
Dallas.
down there next week.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
nice. We can get together.
Yeah,
Maybe
we're
like,
gonna I'll be there for almost a whole week. So we'll
oh,
definitely get
nice.
together. I'm going
Yeah,
to a cigar event down there.
cool.
Yeah.
And Mike, where are you located?
Dallas.
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 Okay.
Dallas. Oh, that's close by.
So I'm the only Canadian on the call then. I'm in Nova Scotia, Canada. So
Oh, cool.
coming from the nuclear bunker. I'm underground.
Yeah.
Oddly
Yeah.
enough, I just met someone else from the community from Nova Scotia, like really recently.
Oh, cool. All right. So I don't know what it was like in your other groups, but we just allowed everybody to go around and give their introductions. So since I'm the only Canadian here, I'll do the polite thing and let all of you go first. And so we'll start with Crypto Blood. Let's give you the floor.
Yeah. So
I'll also
Go
run a Google timer. So we'll do I think it suggested a 2-minute opening remark. Is that right?
That's right.
I shouldn't take that long, no problem. So, yeah, Crypto Blood, known as my name is Jerry Rucker, managing director at EOS Detroit, and I'm excited to be here. I've been in crypto for 8 years now. A very early proponent and supporter of EOS, even before the mainnet launch. And as a person that's an internet personality, I got a lot of criticism over the years for continuing to support EOS because most people only look at the price, right? So they say, "What are you doing? Why are you?" So it's been a journey, and I'm glad to see what we're doing with what Dan is doing with Eden. I think it transpires and transcends actually more than just speculative playing within this cryptocurrency space. This is something that we can really use in the world. And we need that. Just seeing what's going on with elections here in the United States, across abroad. It's I think these are the types of tools that are really needed, and blockchain can really help change and transform and shape humanity in a positive way. So that's it. Baby Blood, you got anything to say? No. Okay. We're good. Who's next? You want to go, Roland?
Yeah.
Randall? Randon? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Randall. So my name is Randall. Basically, I was born in Ghana, and I came to the U.S. when I was 10, and basically made a living for myself. I'm also like a Genesis, I would say, member. I started off following Dan from Steemit, and when he talked about how you can be able to scale blockchain, I was like, why not? This guy's very good. So I followed him, became a heavy investor. So, but I was always at the background. I never said anything until, recently when he talked about Clarion. I was like, man, this guy is coming back to the community. They're going to chew him up, So I wanted to be there to try and help with conversation, discussions, and help compromise because a lot of people were not understanding the situation. So I try to, bring to the community, I would say simplicity in general, like to, make people understand things a little bit better. And all in all, I'm very passionate about this project. And I feel like for a person coming from a developing world and trying to help people from developing world, this is it. There's nothing else. And I feel like the goal is to try and actually start off with the developing world. All right. Akon is doing that. we have to start from the developing world, because in the developed world, it's very hard to get people to understand. And I feel like the ones who are in this crypto space right now from the developed world are going to be the ones that are going to really, really be in it. And it will take time for the others to join. But in the developing world, they need it so badly because they have no option. And with independents being able to run elections like these and giving them a stable currency like EOS, because I'm a big proponent of making EOS a currency, like Dan sees it. It will help Venezuela. It will help Jamaica. It will help Ghana. It will help Kenya. It will help so many people. And the ones who are being oppressed, suffering from depending on systems all their lives, can have some sort of like liberty. All right. For me personally, I don't need anything from this. I have my life, you know, I'm okay with it. But I always say, you know, the greatest part of man is to be able to build a legacy that others can follow and leave something behind. So that's why I'm following this, and we'll see how it goes. Pretty much.
Excellent.
Great.
Mike?
I'm gonna reverse stereotypes and offer John to go next.
Okay, fair enough. So my name is Jonathan Pai. I've been in this space since 2014. I was actually amongst the first to be a delegate back then in the BitShares network. That's where, of course, I was first introduced to Dan Larimer. I became a delegate. We went on to create another delegate organization for mining BitShares. So I operated that mining protocol for Then after that, BitShares 2.0 is introduced. And that introduced the new consensus of committees, which was kind of like what we're doing here, of electing people to manage the community, but they were only charged with having to take care of the fees in the network. But that wasn't the expectation of the community. So I was involved in that and was also elected to the committee for a number of years. And I was also at that time a witness. Then I went on to actually mine the first blocks for the Steem blockchain, which you were introduced to, Randall, that's where you would choose. You'll find that my handle there was called Data Security Node, which is the name of my hosting company. So I'm forever locked in those blocks. After that, right about the time Steem was introduced, I actually was introducing a new blockchain called PeerPlays. And so I was involved in getting that project started. It is still in research and development, and we've learned an awful lot over the last 5 years, not just in connections we've made in the industry, but when it comes to consensus and when it comes to how blockchain communities work and things like that. We've had our share of learning experiences based on real world experiences, not just theory. So feel very blessed for that. And with EOS, I was, of course, one of the Genesis members involved as well, as Randall called it. I'm still a part of that. And I just I've been kind of in the background of EOS, largely because of my dedication, responsibilities, and huge workload going on with PeerPlays. But both of them are graphene chains. And so we're basically brothers from another mother sort of thing. So we both share the same kind of code base that connects with each other. But with that, I've now, with this introduction of Clarion, it's actually quite interesting because I actually recently started to look at new types of consensus myself. And with Dan coming out with his, it inspired me a little bit to think a little more outside the box of what I was thinking of originally. So I'm pretty excited about what we're doing here. I believe that EOS has a lot of prospects in terms of being able to have greater growth. The technology is the same as what we use in PeerPlays. I'm not really too concerned about that. What I am concerned more about is how we as people connect with the technology. I think that that's where we are really struggling. I think that a lot of people get too caught up in that, and they tend to forget that we all live in this centralized, authoritarian kind of a controlling kind of world that has all these old systems. And we take that thinking and we kind of try to bring it into this new one, trying to create something new, but we end up with designs that end up with the same results. oligarchies and all these types of things. And it's just not good. I think that we have to think outside of that a little further. So I'm here today to participate in helping with this grand experiment of helping to create better governance for our future. And also, I am also, from a technical perspective, looking to be able to accomplish things that are going to enhance the ecosystem. Again, to better connect people. So a little bit about me.
Cool.
You know, Pure Plays was the first ICO I ever participated in.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
crazy.
Okay.
I
Cool.
remember that. Yeah. Sorry,
We're
Mike,
still
go
here.
ahead.
No, I don't know. So I bought my first Bitcoin in 2012 or 13. And as the stories tend to go, I don't have that Bitcoin or Litecoin anymore, unfortunately. I got deep into crypto again, kind of rediscovered it in 2017. Beginning of 2017, studied crypto nonstop through 2017. Found Dan that year prior to the launch. Followed the entire launch, basically real time. I was completely enamored with that. Studied Dan, like just this is a guy with such amazing principles and so consistent with his thinking that I read his book lists and watched his lectures and just studied him. And then I had an opportunity. I was invited out of the blue. I was invited by a friend to join Block One, and I was like, absolutely. So flew to Virginia and worked in Block One for 2.5 years. And then when Dan resigned from Block One and talked about what he was doing next, it was again consistent with life, liberty, property, and justice, and I'm all for that. So joined Clarion and are building Eden, and looking forward to contributing to Clarion as well. I love the book. I read the second time through, was just underlying and dog-earing and just taking notes and studying. I have set up conversations about it and just really like bashed at it to try to get these ideas really clear. I think what's most important for this community is to get this form of governance purely represented, and that this form of government stood up in a way that actually works and is consistent with the book. I think that's going to require quite a bit of education and purity of thought in our mindsets. So I'm really excited to be part of making that happen.
Awesome. So
Yeah, so I wanted to just comment on what Randall talked about as far as really bringing liberty to a lot of the third world countries. I think it's crazy because currencies or cryptocurrencies, you say like EOS should be a currency, right? That's great, but we have governments who can intervene in that step, right? In that liberty or the ability for citizens to use EOS as a currency, right? So that's where Eden comes in, I think bridges the gap for that to happen. It's the conduit for, to take over governments, corrupt governments, to allow people to choose what they want as a currency. So I just wanted to piggyback on what you said, Randall, regarding that.
And I have a thing that for me, if I'm able to have access to funds, which Eden is going to make it available, I think the one thing that we have to really, really, really focus in on is building a lot of marketplaces. We have to just blitz it, right? By having marketplaces and people having access to the currency, all right? Now we can be able to start marketing well, because if I'm in Ghana and I'm talking to these people at the top, all that I'm telling them is, hey guys, we have this product. People can be able to buy these things with this currency, which is stable, okay? Let's get the people to do it. Because I have to just talk to a lot of people, a lot of media guys, and that's it, right? That's what Venezuela is doing. Whether the government wants it or not, the people are basically the strongest, right? The people can always overcome a government, but the government cannot overcome the people. Okay, there is some sort of lies that has been perpetrated that government controls the people. No, when a bunch of people come together, they can overthrow a government. So I really feel like once the people have some sort of tools, right, that can empower them, they can be able to do things in ways that we have never thought about. So I feel like a place like Ghana, they need independent tools, such as tools to allow them, like a marketplace for them to be able to sell goods, exchange currencies without having, over there it's called the city. And that city is not good. You get city today, tomorrow inflation is 15%. It means nothing. You cannot even buy anything. And people are struggling, people are starving. And when people are starving, that's when they look for innovation. So I really feel like marketplace is one of the biggest things that we have to spend some of this money working on. And the second thing is I was able to talk to EOS Writer, and I was telling him, we love that guy. We have to get people who can market EOS better, right? So we have to spend some of the funds on writers and marketers. The third thing is we have to also work on healthcare records, okay? Because I'm a doctor, I'm a physician, and I'm also a technician, and I'm also a designer, right? So I try to put all of that together. So as a physician, we have healthcare records. Healthcare is the biggest industry, okay? It's even bigger than oil right now. It's huge. So imagine we are able to create healthcare records from a physician point of view, and also being a designer, we are able to incorporate all the things that I know about healthcare records and how people can be able to keep their own information and release it if they want it. And then we use EOS as a form of payments, okay? And we can do it through possibly starting an ACO, okay? And people can buy premiums and they buy into it. And eventually you have to get a lot of doctors to buy into it. And we have the ACO. And we start our own insurance processes. That is huge. That can change the game. Now, the next thing is, imagine, and I'm going from a healthcare point of view, being in Ghana, right? Over there, they don't have good healthcare system, but now we have telemedicine, okay? We have a bunch of doctors over there in Ghana, and it can be in any other country, but I'm using Ghana because I have control over that place, right? We have something called second opinion where we have doctors in the US or maybe in Canada, right? And they can be consulted when patients are sick or being sick, and they cannot be able to help them in Ghana. They can consult them in the US, and then we use the blockchain as a form of verification to make sure that all the doctors who are in the system are verifiable, and we pay them in EOS currency. And then we also do all the marketing, with pharmacy, everything, we use the same currency. I think it would change how those people in Ghana, how they operate, because now they don't have to depend on the system that's there. Now they have access to also be able to get care from other parts of the world. And that will also help with some independence as well.
Randall, Randall, if you don't mind asking, I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
You were talking about, I'm completely aligned with everything you're saying, and there's tons of power in everything you're saying, the projects and the use of crypto and all of that. I want to come back to CryptoBlood's comment, though. I think he makes a really good point that we need that means to come to consensus, right? That's the power of Eden.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How do you see the ideas in the book and basically the idea of Eden, fractal governance, empowering? Like, what do you think the most critical pieces of that mindset is that will empower what you're talking about above and beyond just crypto and the people using it? Because that's like an agorist perspective, and that's a great piece of it. But we're trying to replace that with a governance system that's superior to, like, rather than revolution, we want a new tools. So I'm just curious your ideas on that.
You're absolutely right. And I love Eden. Trust me. You have no idea how much I love Eden, and I love what Dan is proposing. So let's say if in a third world country, if you want to implement something like this, okay, you cannot start it from the top, because over there, whoa, they are power hungry. So they're not going to allow that. We have to start it with something like a cell phones, because I always use cell phones because people in Africa, they love cell phones. That's everything. That's where they get the information. We start off with cell phones, and we put everything that they need to be able to run this election type on the cell phone, right? And by doing that, now we can start a group of people of 10,000. It's very simple, right? To now come into consensus, and basically we have to just talk like how we are talking, right? They have to believe in what you're saying. They have to believe that you're going to give them independence, because they want more independence than in the US. So in the US, you can depend on the bank. In Africa, you cannot depend on your bank. You cannot depend on your government to help you go to school. So basically for them, they are looking for something. So now you give them this ability where they can be able to reach consensus and be able to get to the top. It just takes for them to be able to do it, which is the cell phone. They need the phones to be able to now vote and talk to each other. And then once we're able to do that, and you get a bunch of people together, right? You need good people to begin with. I really feel like, you know, they will buy into it easily, actually. You don't even need anything sophisticated. You know, it's all about being able to get them access, how they can be able to do the whole election.
So Mike,
That's the biggest thing.
how do you see the money rewarded to yourself? How would you utilize that?
For this initial round, you know, to put off the bigger picture. Well, I don't know. Do you want the bigger picture of should I become Satoshi of, you know, the broader Eden community, or just this 1,000 EOS?
I guess start with 1,000. Yeah, because that's that's less, right? So you have to be more thoughtful in how you deploy that.
Yeah, exactly. I know, representing the people in the first group I was in, we talked a lot about education. I am really passionate, and I think kind of along the lines of what I assumed from what you said, the culture is going to matter, right? The mindset's going to matter. He talks about independence, trust, these certain ideas in the book that you can't bake into the process. The process is great, but you also need the mindset. You need the people pulling for the process so that the process isn't just words on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would spend the entire 1,000 EOS on education. What might that look like? I mean, Dan can arrange any interviews he wants, so getting Dan connected with people and media would be a big piece. Funding translation, I think, would be interesting to get it out to more of the world. A lot of that's already in process.
Nation is great with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that is in motion, and it's something we're trying to do on a volunteer basis. But I would just look for what's the biggest impact educational thing we can do to get this mindset cooked in that isn't going to happen by volunteer or by Dan. You know, I don't know what that is yet, but I think that would be my focus.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, for me, I'm in kind of the crypto influencer space. I've interviewed Brock Pierce a number of times on my channel. I haven't had Dan on yet, but I've had people like Andreas Antonopoulos, who is more of a Bitcoin guy. But I think I would go the route of trying to get the awareness out through my channels that I typically use every week anyhow. And, you know, I have a team over at EOS Detroit of developers that we could possibly do some things together, collaborate with them and make some things happen. So pay them for that. But I haven't, you know, I think in general, I haven't specifically thought about the $1,000 spend or the 1,000 EOS spend, but definitely it will be in the camp of awareness, kind of along the lines of what you're talking about, Mike. And I have a network to leverage that, definitely. And if you guys don't pick me, Mike, we can definitely talk. I'll love to have, you know, anyone on and interview them and spread the word.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for
elections. Good.
What'd you say, John?
So we're all getting hooked up through elections. This is good.
Right.
Yeah, I think finding finding those opportunities for Dan to talk about this. You know, at this point, my readings of the book, first time through, I don't think I remembered half of it. I was actually a big part of editing the book, and even with like
Okay.
that level of involvement, I still, the second time through, I swear I've never read the book. Like, there's just so much to wrap your brain around. And I think the second time through, I slowed down, I took notes, I grappled with what's the thesis. Like, I really went into depth on notes of like, what's the thesis of this chapter, and wanted to understand. And then I listened to, try to get questions answered. And a lot of this is still in Dan's head. You know, he's got this book, which is a great starting point for us, but there's so much to work out. You know, what are the bylaws going to be, right? What's worth putting into a bylaw?
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding a lot of what I initially thought, and what I'm finding as I discuss this with people, we have our mindset of, we're using the word election. Is that what this is? I don't really like all the traditional words, so I tend to not want to use any of them. This is human beings coming to a consensus. This is people coordinating. And I think getting more of those questions asked in interviews and whatnot, and then getting books. I hope there's follow-on books. I just want to arrange all that, get more out of Dan's head it's been my mission since joining Block One.
Sometimes the smartest people is very hard to get everything out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need people who, like, one of the things I'm grappling with recently is I'm trying to get people who have media outlets like yours, who have read the book, who can ask good enough questions to get the next level out of Dan's head.
Yeah.
So that's
good point.
I think that'd be the focus. And maybe the 1,000 EOS is only 2 projects, but they're 2 projects that we all agree will achieve that.
Yeah. I agree with you too, Jerry and Mike. I don't know about Johnny, because Johnny didn't say anything yet about what he's going to do with $1,000. I think we should focus $1,000 on education. Education.
Is Johnny, you're a volunteer? Are you a part of this round? Or you just
part of this round?
You are. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't realithis that. We need to hear what Johnny has to say.
I was also helping with the process to. I was in the process to get this all started and volunteered.
Okay.
Let's
hear what Johnny has to say.
Yeah. So in the last round, we talked about what I would do with 1,000 actually, and we are at Pure Plays. We developed something called a cross-chain consensus protocol, and I met with Dan back in 2019 to talk about that actually, and. Since then, we've been developing that protocol, and my interest in the 1,000 EOS is really just to provide liquidity to that connection that would then connect to liquidity pools and the DEX that exist already in the Pure Plays blockchain. And we're actually enabling these things right now. We would do a little bit more development, but all that money would go toward, those EOS would go towards that. But aside from that, we also, in our last group, somebody expressed the interest of wanting to take 100 of those EOS and being able to use that to distribute to others who couldn't afford to be a part of this election process. So they were interested in being able to reach people like in Venezuela and whatnot, that 10 EOS is really a big deal for that. And they just simply cannot participate in these because of that barrier. So his interest was in being able to do that, and there was that was expressed by others as well. I would certainly honor that. I would want to see the same thing where we would. I'm not sure how that process would work exactly. I'll have to talk to them about what kind of ideas they had about how distribution on that would work. But those that can't afford it, be able to take a portion of it and be able to help them to be able to participate in this process. I feel like that's a bit of a. I mean, I understand this is all kind of a first version, but I feel like that's almost another kind of experiment off of this experiment to see what happens when we help. I want to say like disparity economies that where people can't afford to participate the same way we can, and if that has a knockoff effect in terms of the randomization and everything else, where it turns into kind of, I helped you get in, or you're going to help me, and all that kind of stuff. We want to avoid all that, but it'll be interesting to see if that ends up showing up anywhere. I feel like it won't, which is why it's good to try that and see if that would be helpful in any way in making sure that we have greater reach into despairing economies like the third world that Randall was talking about. They're all out there, and a lot of them just can't be able to reach that, get above that barrier in order to participate. So they have to be passive members in this process, and that's unfortunate. For me, Dan's book wasn't as much of it wasn't too much of a revelation to me, only because it's very, very similar to what I experienced in my lifetime as a Baha'i. And in the Baha'i, it's a religion. And the Baha'i faith is actually a microcosm global community that has existed for over 100 years. And they created an administrative order that is very similar to what Dan's book talks about in terms of randomization of voting, and the whole community actually participates. There's differences in how it works, and maybe through Dan's own experimentation, he may arrive at the same conclusions. I don't know, but to me, this is all very familiar. I've experienced it my whole life. I was also elected into what were called local spiritual assemblies. That's kind of like what you guys would consider like the first round here. And it would all be, then there would be a group that would be handling all local affairs, and then there's national, and there's international, and so forth. So this is all something I'm very familiar with. But yeah, so the 1,000, we'd be really looking to support cross-chain consensus protocol so that we can connect more effectively to other consensus systems and connect to other communities, which I believe is the way to helping to create more unity and diversity, which is important because the more that we act as a moded economy and as a moded sort of a moat culture, like that it's all just about EOS the technology, the more limited we're going to continue to be. But when you bring diversity into it, when you have it so that you have other communities who have gone through those, if we all talk to each other, we realize we all have the same experiences. Like people who've been in Steem or in BitShares, they see the problems in EOS and they're just like, yeah, I've been there, done that, but then everybody who comes into EOS, they come in like they have this revelation. Suddenly it's like, yeah, we did that 5 years ago. So if we just share with each other more and we're able to understand that, we're all on the same journey, then we would be able to get there faster. We could get there more effectively. But I think that right now there's just there's kind of the herding the cats kind of thing that's happening. And hopefully that this type of governance is going to help bring a little bit of structure and framework so that we could actually have those cats heard and we can actually be able to work together. And I think it's important to include everybody, not just across the crypto sphere, but like worldwide. Like we need to be able to reach out to just anybody who's interested in wanting to have better future, better governance, because life, liberty, freedom, property for all, as Dan says, is really, I believe, what drives the community here and what everybody's here for today. And you have to have that intrinsic motivation first, right? If you put the whole idea of, you're in elections, so you're going to get funded, you're going to destroy the intrinsic motivation. It's the stick and carrot, and that has to be, as soon as you introduce a stick and a carrot, you're turning that person into a donkey, is what I say. And you need to stop that, take away the extrinsic motivators, make it so that you're honoring them as human beings, and they're really their motivation being curiosity, real people kind of stuff. So that's what I would do with 1,000 there. Little ran on there, sorry.
So
All good.
We're getting. I want to be responsible for time. It's flying by. I'm watching it fly by on my Google timer. We have something like 15 minutes.
Okay.
I suggest we take a first vote just to get roughly where we are consensus-wise.
Yep.
So order my screen, Crypto Blood.
We'll go with Mike.
All right, John.
Undecided.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a second.
I'll go with Mike.
Okay.
Mike,
Wow.
would you go with Mike?
I guess I gotta go with Mike. I've been surprised 2 rounds in a row. Like I'm like, what? That's awesome. Yeah, I guess I gotta vote for myself then. Um,
So Mike, help me understand again, like you said you would with 1,000 EOS, you would look at translation or something like that. Something along the lines of being able to get messaging out there.
yeah, like I said, getting this mindset solidified, getting the culture solidified is the critical piece. Um, and I don't think, I think with such a small amount of money, it would have to be, I think CryptoBlood said this, smartly applied, right? You'd have to come up with something really juicy to do with such a
Right.
small amount of money. So I don't know. I think the more I think about it, I'd have to just poll the people involved in this event and just see who comes up. I'm not going to come up with the best answer. So I'd rather just poll everybody involved and just
That's
see
smart.
what ideas pop up. Because there's going to be an amazing one that we all go, yeah, that. Or at least 3 of them were like, any of those would be awesome. Maybe paying for a documentary to be made about this process today. You know, there's a lot of things, and one of them will require money that isn't allocated, and I think that's where the sweet spot's going to be. So, yeah, a poll. I wouldn't do anything with it. I would represent. So I think that's my answer.
Do you believe that the process should be something that continues to evolve closer to Dan's book, or should it be based on, I guess, experience collected and how everybody in the community responds to the process?
So
I guess I'm
first,
asking, what is the value hierarchy you have here in Dan, the goal of what Dan represents versus what we're learning together?
so I have a couple different answers. One is go toward Dan's book, and what I really mean by that is the principles in Dan's book. As I've spoken about this, talked about the ideas, even gotten to ask him questions about it, we've ironed out like, oh, this would have to work this way, and even he's discovering this process. So I don't consider the book fully cooked, but I definitely want to stick to the principles that he's discovered. Interestingly enough, I end up in a group with you. You're on my list to contact because of Baha'i. I'm really curious, what have you guys learned that might inform that discovery? You said that, I don't even know where we were, but some early call I remember hearing, oh, the Genesis call. You referred to Baha'i, and I was like, I got to call that guy and find out about that. So I'm very curious to pull from other sources, but I think it should be pure in principle and simple. It's got to be something that's transparent, that's replicatable, and that leverages everything we've learned. I mean, humanity has learned.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. Okay.
All right. Well,
so yeah, I would vote for Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That's quite a shock.
So Mike,
Yeah.
quick one here. So the whole principle.
So just real quick, guys, I'm sorry, I got to run here.
Mhm.
I already put my vote in the room for Mike. Nice meeting everyone.
Nice
I
meeting
want to connect with you, Mike and Roland. Roland, I'll see you in Houston next
Houston.
week.
Okay, definitely.
Sounds good. Thanks.
See you guys.
All
Okay.
right.
Take care, CryptoBlood.
So so the whole process is to try and get consensus, and then once we have a quote unquote a leader, that leader is supposed to be allocating funds, and the whole goal of that is to make sure that those funds are being utilized for wealth building, right, in the EOS community, right?
Well, we get to say there's no right way to spend those. It's what the community agrees is worth spending it on. I just got a message, 8 minutes left. Yeah, so I don't think there's a right answer there. Well, I would say wealth broadly, maybe for humanity wealth, but I don't think of it in terms of wealth first. I think about it in terms of governance. I think governance and the platform we're sitting on, in this case, EOSIO, I think those are the 2 things that need the focus. With those 2 things, kind of to your original point, Randall, if you build the tools, the marketplace, the cryptocurrency, the access, our usability is still pretty bad. For a new person to EOS, it's not easy. What they're doing in South America is predominantly using blocks.io and manually submitting transactions. Like they're not even using a wallet. And I found that amazing when I learned that. Like we gotta solve these problems. We gotta make this easy and accessible so that it just spreads like wildfire. In the third world, in South America, people are ready to be using this. They just need the best tools possible. And I think we could build. I mean, maybe that'd be an interesting alternative for the 1,000 EOS. There might be small, simple tools that maybe we don't even want to use in the US because they're not luxurious enough. But the simple versions that work on cell phones that get the job done, that could light. I mean, Africa is a huge, huge market.
That's where I'm coming from, because remember, I deal with people in Africa all the time. I'm dealing with people from Ghana, right? So sometimes people look at cryptocurrency from the perspective of the developed world.
Yeah.
But when you take it to the developing world, you see that you don't need something so sophisticated.
Absolutely.
Right. All that the people need, and Mike, you can pass this on, a phone, and it has to be very easy for them to just buy something.
Yep.
So buy the crypto, buy something. That's all that they need, nothing else. And if we can be able to do that and do it very effectively.
Andreas Antonopoulos talks about this, and
Oh
definitely
man,
a passion of mine.
that would be
We're
it.
in the last few minutes. Why don't we do the administration here? Have you guys voted yet?
I'm gonna vote right now. Yeah, I'm gonna do.
Passing my vote. I'm passing my vote right now.
Right,
Room 4, right?
Room 4, right?
Yeah, room 4. Room 4. Mike.
It was great meeting you guys. John, like I said, you've already been on my list, so I'll reach out as time permits. You're one of my next 2 phone calls. I've just been basically reaching out and meeting members of the community, so you're on my list. And Randall, definitely, I'm talking to people in South America, but Africa is such a huge market with people who are so hungry for this.
Yeah. So nice meeting you, Mike. Nice meeting you, sir.
Great to meet all of you. Thank you so much for this. Glad I could be a part of this.
All right.
Likewise.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.